Let's talk about a few more matches from WrestleDream. We've already mentioned that Bryan Danielson's going to be defending his world title against Jon Moxley. We know for sure that Darby Allin's got an open challenge that we're all sort of scratching our head about who could it be. We got a three-way now for the International Championship with Ospreay, Ricochet, and Takeshita. We've also got Jack Perry defending his TNT Championship against Shibata. That match was made official last night. Um, I think Jack Perry as the scapegoat, it's given a whole new paint of coat, as Bruce would say, to his character. Shibata is one of the best in the world, bell to bell. This is going to be for a show that was originally built on showcasing and celebrating Inoki's legacy and sort of working with some New Japan talent. This is pretty cool that we've got Shibata challenging for the TNT title.
Shibata's a machine. Shibata is a machine, Conrad, and uh, it takes great effort to keep up with him because he can go and go and go. He's got those Energizer Bunny batteries. They just seemingly don't they don't go down. So that's another match that could they'll steal their part of the show. They're probably going to be in a good spot on the card. I'm sure they'll be given enough time to tell their story. At least that's what I hope. That's the main thing you have to watch for in these pay per views, no matter what company you're with, is bell to bell time and being able to not put the guys in a position that because of their style, which you know, and because of the finish, which you book, we don't put them in a position that they can't handle. And these guys are pros, and I think they'll have a special match without question.
We got to also mention the other match that was made last night as we're recording this. Mark Briscoe is going to be defending the Ring of Honor World Championship against Chris Jericho. And Jericho had a comment, one of the first times we've seen something like this, where he referenced, "Hey, you can't beat me. Maybe your brother Jay could."
Yeah.
Interesting little moment, got a reaction from the crowd. What do you think about Jericho and Mark Briscoe hooking it up at WrestleDream?
Well, I love personal issues, and Jericho damn sure made it personal by interjecting the the late brother Jay Briscoe's name in a less than flattering way. Maybe you could look at it that way. Jericho probably wouldn't look at it that way. So uh, it'll be an interesting match. Both guys are old pros. They know what they can hear the crowd. They can sell the crowd what they're buying. So I like that. Just and Briscoe's getting a chance to be a star on his own, which is kind of cool for him after what he's gone through in his career and his life. And Jericho continues to roll on. It's just hard to believe that Jericho's been in the business as long as he has, and he's still very, very efficient and very effective. So those two veterans will not allow themselves to have an okay match. They just won't.
I want to talk a little bit about bad blood before we put a button on this one, but we also got some questions that we need to get to.
Okay.
Um, Aaron has a personal question for you here. He says, "Don't mean any disrespect with this question, but if your wife hadn't passed away, do you think you'd be retired on a beach right now or still working?"
Well, I am on the beach, by the way. Uh, oh, I don't know. That's a good question, though. Uh, my wife knew how much I enjoyed working. I could bitch and moan about travel or what have you and things like that, but she could probably she would be happy for me to work. So I think I'd probably still be working, and I got to the beach, so I got part of that task handled. So good question. I appreciate that.
Aaron Sheen wants to know, with the 5 year anniversary behind us, have you reflected on your favorite AEW moment? You've had a lot of big moments. You've been a part of a lot of big matches and memories in AEW. Does one stand out above all the rest to you, Jim?
Well, this series of matches that Brian Danielson has had in the last 2 or 3 months, they got to be included in that conversation. Uh, and I some of the stuff Kenny Omega has done for us in AEW has been extraordinary. But what I think anything I would suggest at this moment off the top of my head would include Brian Danielson.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the story they told at Wembley, that was pretty awesome. Sting's last match in March, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, the very first show where you called Cody versus Dustin, that was amazing.
that was awesome.
Arth-
That might be the most emotionally charged match that I've called for AEW. Is the two Rhodes brothers. They turned it on, man, and they dotted every I, crossed every T. Oh, fundamentally sound. Just was phenomenal. And they worked their asses off. They were stiff. They're logical. Everything good about pro wrestling you could find in the Cody Dustin match. I just loved it, and I still think about it.
the first Arthur Ashe, the first Grand Slam with Kenny Omega and Brian Danielson, man, that was something else too. It's really crazy to think about how many great wrestling moments and matches have happened in the last 5 years with AEW.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
yeah, you're right. It's abnormally a lot. It was just you'd expect some, but this amount of volume for great matches, probably not. I didn't expect that many, and they just keep coming and coming. And it seems like every time we have a pay per view, somebody steps up, has the match of their life to that point. Uh, we get the same thing occasionally on Dynamite. So I this is a great crew. They have fun wrestling, and they're wrestling fans at heart by and large. The majority of them. I don't know of anybody that's getting a push, as they say, who's not delivering. You know, nobody's forced into a. There's no square pegs and round holes, shall we say? Everything fits.
Instagram a wrestling historian asked a similar question. What's your favorite AEW match so far? You know, I know he's asking you, I'm sure, but mine might be. I mean, I guess you're not going to count Ring of Honor matches, but that dog collar match with the Briscoes and FTR was pretty badass. But mine might be Wrestle Forbidden Door rather last year with Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega. Man, that was something else. Like
Yeah,
even Eric Bischoff was like, I don't know that I've ever seen a match like this before. It's a good problem to have when you have trouble narrowing it down to just a few, isn't it?
yeah,
Right?
absolutely, absolutely. It's encouraging. That's why I'm excited about going to Tacoma. I haven't been there in a long time. I hope we have a good crowd, big crowd, lively crowd, make some noise, and all that good stuff. We need that. It's imperative. We need you to come, fill the stands, put an ass every 18 inches, and make a lot of noise. It makes everybody do their job better, whether you're an announcer or or a wrestler or a manager or any performance aspect of the pro wrestling business is better with a lively crowd, without question. That's common sense, right? Didn't even take any thought to figure that one out. So I'm a big fan of what we're doing, and I think that this pay per view coming up in Tacoma is going to be a ball buster. I mean, this look the card as we talked about this card, I get more excited about it because it's just amazing what we're working with. So I just think that AEW is on the verge of something really cool. Uh, First step was the TV deal. It's done now. They're making it more streamlined and more effective, and I'm pumped about it. I'm glad that Tony Khan was brilliant enough to make the negotiations click and make a deal that everybody could live with on both sides.